Yep. Good evening, everyone. So last session we discussed about how to create a React application with TypeScript and how TypeScript uses all the features, right? So whatever examples you learned in JavaScript, same you can implement in TypeScript now with all same libraries. Only the difference is you have to mention data type for every parameter you are defining, for every function you are configuring. The types are important. Data type configuration is important. Other libraries are same. Formic or Axios, you can try them. Anyone tried using the previous examples in TypeScript? Anyone tried that? No. So if you can try, then we can find out any issues if they are happening. Because whatever examples we learned in JavaScript, now you have to try the same in TypeScript. You have to practice them same. So if you are not doing that, then it is difficult to handle TypeScript based any examples later. So create one shopping example like by using TypeScript, like EMI calculator, like by using TypeScript. Try them, then it will be good, okay for you. I will show you one more here point is you can try Redux store. So Redux with React, because Redux is not for React. Redux is nothing but, already I told you, you don't need Redux. Instead of Redux, already latest version is having use reducer. Already we discussed about use reducer. So React 18 and versions have use reducer hook, which avoids usage of Redux. Redux is a third party library for state management. You can use this library in any JavaScript applications where you need to maintain state. But already we learned cookies and we learned use reducer like hooks, which will maintain data and make the data available across request. Use reducer, use context. They are all new things. Earlier, we need to manage by the help of third parties like Redux. But now you don't need this actually. But in several large scale projects, they use a separate state management library, and that is Redux. They use with different types of frameworks also, like Redux Saga. Depends on company requirement. It's not necessary that everybody have to use. Already I told you that is general practice by people who are dealing with old versions. But people who are dealing with new versions, they have all new hooks available. They can try them, right? Old version people need these type of support like Redux and all. So what is Redux? So how we can define this? Actually, so Redux is predictable state container for JavaScript applications, JavaScript apps. A predictable state container for JavaScript applications. Anywhere you can use. Don't link this with React because it is a general JavaScript library, just like other libraries you learned. Axios and Formic, yep. It is also similar to that. It is specialized in managing state. Why to manage state already we know, because web applications are stateless. We have to manage state. So Redux actually it is same as use reducer, use reducer in React 18. In React 18 and higher versions, use reducer hook is there. The same work it will do, but it have larger library, larger scope, larger set of features actually. But now modern React applications, they just depend on the use reducer. It is enough. At application level, you can maintain a state. Actually, you can see this is Redux store. This is Redux JS, a predictable state container. It is a predictable state container. What is meant by predictable state container? Predictable state container for JavaScript applications. What is meant by predictable? See its features. So predictable, centralized, debuggable, flexible. These are some key features they tell. This is not only by you, Angular people use it, Vue people use it, other JavaScript technology people also use it. So this is not a part of React. It is just a part of general JavaScript library. Predictable, why it is called predictable state container? Because actually it exactly knows where the information is updated, how the information is updated, when the information is updated. That means there is no like inconsistency. That means you say this is the data to be stored. It will exactly store the data. You say this is when you have to store. It will store exactly on that situation on. That means you can easily predict when it is stored, where it is stored, how it is stored, everything you can monitor. I told you Redux tools also, na? In browser, you can download Redux tool and you can try them. So you can even see what is the activity performed in the background. I already told you centralized means application state. That means data will be at application level, so that you can access from any component and you can use for any component. So easily debuggable means you can find the bugs and fix the bugs, because Redux development tools are provided. They will monitor the problems where exactly it is happening, right? That is what actually this is the key feature. And this is not for React. This is for every JavaScript based technology. They can use it. And it is same like use reducer. How you have used use reducer? Have you practiced use reducer? No. You have practiced use reducer. I given use context, use reducer like things. Na? If you don't practice, then how? What is use of explaining this then? You need to try that. If you don't practice and don't remember that use reducer, it is waste of time with Redux now. Because it is the same approach. I don't need to tell you any programming here. I need to just tell the steps. And those steps you have to implement. First you practice use reducer, then come back to Redux. I will just give you a ready-made code snippet. You try this. Then if you have any doubts, we will see. Okay, na? Because without use reducer understanding, you can't understand Redux and you can't handle it. First practice that. In use reducer, you remembered some key terms. So we already discussed some key terminology. Na? Key terms. Generally in use reducer, what are the key terms? Reducer requires what? What a reducer requires? You are thinking or waiting for my answer? I am confused very much. Are you thinking? Do I need to wait? What are the key terms of reducer? Tell me. State, action, and what else? Reducer, action, store, dispatcher. Good, right? So what are you practiced those? So reducer starts with what? It will have initial state. Am I right? Remember that? It will start with an initial state, and it will have a reducer. It will have a dispatcher, right? It will have a reducer, dispatcher. What else? It will have state. It will have actions. State is for storing the data, action for defining when to update the data. Reducer contains state and actions. Remember that example, na? Right? You need to do that, right? So, yeah. Any yes, very good. We need a provider also. Provider is required everywhere where we have to inject the data. In context also, you have seen provider, context provider. Here also same. So come on, you have to practice that, because you can't understand the concepts like Redux if you don't practice reducer like minimum basic things. Try them. Today I will just give you the code snippet. You try first. I will give an example. So I will explain that example and post in the classroom. You try that. First you try reducer, then try with Redux. Okay, na? So actually here how this Redux works, a simple flow I will show you. Already I think I explained the flow. How the flow works, we discussed. The reducer flow I showed you. What is the reducer flow? The basic reducer flow is this one. This is the basic reducer flow I explained, right? So technically, this is the reducer flow. Actually, what happens is without the Redux, a component have to provide data. If a component have to provide data without Redux, generally what happens? Suppose a data provider is this. From here, data should reach here. Then it cannot directly reach. It cannot directly reach. Then what happens? You learned context. Na? In context, what will happen? This provider will send data to the context of a component which is running inside it. From that context, you need to send it to another context. From that context, you need to send to component which requires data. Through a context hierarchy, you need to pass data from one component to another. Or you have to use a cookie. Already we learned cookie. You can use a cookie or you can use a context to carry data from one place to another. Now what Redux is going to do? Redux is not doing this. What Redux is going to do? It will keep the data centralized. That means what it will do? It is going to create a store for you. In that store, the data will be kept. And whatever data is kept in the store, it is accessible to every container directly. This is what we call centralized data. Earlier, how to transport data in a multi-level hierarchy, we need to transport from one page to another. From one page to means one component to another, we have to transport the data. By using context, by using query string, route parameters, cookies, you can do that. But now what Redux can do, it maintains data in a single container, a centralized data container, so that the data is stored in that container and updated in that container, and you can access that container from any location you want. What is the lifespan of this container? What is the lifespan of this state container? Application start to application end. That means the time application started till the time application ends, means close the application. This data is maintained so that you can access the data and use the data from any location. Accessing and using data from any location. That is what actually it can do. And actually, why we used the word single source of truth? I think I explained one point to you about MVC architecture. Remembered? I told you that model view controller like concept is used. Data binding, I told you. In data binding, I told you that one-way binding and two-way binding. So React uses only what type of binding? One-way. One-way binding. This is using an MVC architecture. It uses a two-way binding technique. So two-way binding technique, it is nothing but actually you will have a model and a view and a controller. Generally what happens is, so in this architecture, usually in this architecture, model contains data. This is nothing but store. Model contains data. Data is present in store. And the controller defines actions. It defines actions. This is called application logic. Defines actions. And view defines the user interface. That means presentation. That means now what happens is you triggered an action that will update the data in the store. And this data is displayed in the view. You made some changes in the view. This is updated back into store. This is, and how it is updated back into store. You make some changes, those actions will come. These actions will update into the store again. This is a cycle. That means there is some data. You are displaying the data and you are using the data. You made any modification in the data that fires up an action, and actions are controlled by home controller. These actions update the data here. That updated data will come to the view again. This cycle is continuous. That means data is present in store. From the store, it is delivered to the UI. From the UI, any modification happened through an action, it will notify that modification and update in the store. And that updated information is again displayed in the view. That is the reason model is considered as single source of truth. We call it as single source of truth. So at very experience level interviews, they may ask like this. That means what is single source of truth? Single source of truth is nothing but in any framework, the data representation which contains information about the previous value and the current value, and which contains all the tracking about previous and current values, which contains tracking about the changes in the value, are called as single source of truth. That means the component which contains all the tracking about changes in the data. What is previous data? What is current data? Is previous and current both are same? Is previous is changed? Current is different. If previous is different, current is different, that means some change happened. We call this mechanism as change detection. When this model data will update to UI, it will not simply update to UI every time. Whenever change occurred, it will update. How model knows that there is a change in the value? Model knows that there is a change in the value by verifying previous value and current value. If previous value is equal to current value, that means there is no change. If previous value and current value are different, that means change identified. Once the change identified, it will push those changes and update in the UI. This is a complete cycle that works in state management. And that is the reason this store is referred as a model, and actions are referred as a controller, and the user interface is defined as a view. This is actually following a framework called MVC, Model View Controller. So this is a continuous cycle. Actually, this is how the cycle works. That is the cycle just now I explained through an option. This already I told you in reducer concept. In reducer, I showed you this one. That means we have state. So store gets the information to state. From state, it is sent to UI. UI triggers an action. On that action, it updates the changes into store. Those updated changes are sent to the state and they are displayed in the UI. This is the flow, how it works. So you have to create a state. You have to store the data in the state, and you need to update the data on specific actions. So what is the main concept is transporting data from one component to another. For that, keep your data in a store and provide from the store, so that that store will be available from application start to application end. We call it as application state. We call it as application state actually. This is the application state. That is what it says actually. It says centralizing your application's state. What is the meaning of centralizing your application state? So that it can be accessed by any component and it can be used. Without centralizing, how it happens? Through context, through query string, through cookies, through route parameters, it happens. If anybody asked you, have you learned any other techniques of transporting data? Any other techniques of storing the data and using the data across components? You have learned so many. You learned query string, you learned cookies, you learned route parameters. So you learned context, use context. These are used for managing, and you learned about component state also. Component state is only for current component, but across components, there are several other techniques. This we have to implement actually. This we have to implement. So for this, do you really need Redux? Not required. Without Redux also, you done that. But Redux will give, they are giving features now. Features means more flexible, easily understandable to all platforms. It has more debugging features. Means you can easily identify the problems and fix them. It will clearly monitor whether data is updated or not, which action is triggered, where the data is stored, updated, everything it will show. These are all important. Actually, in JavaScript based applications, debuggable is very important. Why? Because we need to find out where exactly the problem occurred. That is important. So this is the concept. Actually, that is the purpose of Redux. Now, how to use this Redux store in our project, we will see. Means in a project where this Redux is used. I will give you a simple hierarchy. The stages, steps I will give you. You try, you implement them. Same like Redux reducer, I will show some point here. We will try one concept here. Means I am just giving you the code, you practice it, right? I will explain because already we learned reducer. No need to again explain the same points. So actually what we will do now is, suppose you remembered we created a shopping cart like option. Suppose suppose shopping cart. So this is a shopping app. We created a simple shopping interface, like a shopping template we created. Now in this, what user can do is, actually there will be some cart component. There will be some cart component. This cart component, so, and there will be a shopping component. There will be a you can say some browse filter component. Filter component will be there, cart component will be there, and products component will be there. We will maintain separate components. Actual, in general, I am explaining, we can have different components. Now, what happens is, in this app, let's keep it little large to understand. Yeah. So here, what we do is, we will put a filter component here. Here, usually we will have a filter component. In the filter component, user can select a category. Which category products he want, he can select. Filter component shows the list of categories. User can choose any category. Now what should happen is, here we will give products component. Here we design a products component. This is actually products component. Here we will display the products which belongs to that category. Already we implemented this example. It has to display the products that belong to category. And we will have a cart component separately. Here we will have a cart component. This is actually cart component. Usually this cart component, that simple cart component is the location where we add items into cart. It will be displayed only when user wants that. That means it will be there, but it will show detail about the component when user clicks on it, when user selects it. Now what we have to do here, user can browse a product. All the products information will be here. All the products information will be here. We design like cards. We create all the products. In every product, usually there will be add to cart button. In every product, there will be add to cart button. You will have an add to cart button. Now what should happen is, when user selects this add to cart button, this product must be added into cart. How? Both are different components. Both are different components. How you will transport this product to that cart? How you will transport this product to that? If everything is in one component, then you can use state. Use state. In use state, you can create an array. In that array, you can define. For example, see here, we have our previous project where we designed this. We designed this already earlier. It is our shopping React. Yeah. In this, which one? I think we created a shopper template. Shopping. I think we created shopping. Okay. Let's keep this in the startup. Which one? Shopping component in the startup. in this shopping component, we implemented that. But the point is, when user clicks on add to cart, that item must be added into cart. That means we need to collect that item, store that, and use it in another component. That means we need to collect this item. Where is it? Yeah. We need to collect this item from here and store and send to another component. That means earlier, if it is in same component, you can handle it. Let's check once. Okay. This is the app we created. Yeah. Now in this, what happens is, now user can select any category, suppose like jewelry, electronics, something, and user click on add to cart, and this item must be added, and it should be shown here how many items are in the cart. We want to display that. That means, for example, see now in this example, in the shopping component, let's go right side here. This is the main. I will give another section here, or I will give in the header itself. Yeah. In the header, this is having shopper, right? We will use this as one div and another div. We'll keep a button here. So, and we'll put a span, class name some bi cart 4, and here your cart items, or this is cart here. That button is there, and here I will apply the class like deflex and justify content between. Okay, it will be like this. Okay, and for this button I will put a class name btn danger and position relative. Okay, and here we are using so another span, and here I will just give a number 0 and the class name. So this is having badge rounded circle. Okay, and this is bg light, will display like this. Okay, BG dark. It will display here. Okay, and this is position absolute. Absolute will keep like this. Okay, we have that. So BG some primary. Okay. Okay, fine. Now what should happen here is I need to display the number. That means here you say this text says your cart items. Your cart items, how many? 0. Now what should happen is when user clicks add to cart, this item must be added and shown there. Can you tell how? Count must update there. On this button click, this particular button click, we need to collect this item. On the button click, we need to collect this item and we need to store that item in a separate collection. That means actually what you need now, you need here cart items. It is an array. And what we need is cart items length. Length indicates how many items are there. This, what I have to do when user clicks add to cart, this item must be added into this array and this length must be updated here. Understood? This is what we need to implement in general. That is a basic requirement actually. So now what we need to do here is we have to write a logic add to cart. So we need to write the logic add to cart. So add to cart we need to write. Now add to cart button where it is, let's check. This is add to cart button. It is dynamically created, right? Here we have this button called add to cart. On this button click, we have to use what? On click. On click, we need to send this product related information. That means that product ID we have to send. That means here we will write a function called, that means into that function we need to send that product. Which product they clicked, that product ID we need to send. How to send any event related argument? Already we learned event arguments, transporting event arguments. So that means the product ID must be sent into this. On that button click, we need a function. Let's write a function here. Right. So we are writing a function. What is the function? Add to cart click. So this function should fire up. Okay. So what we will do when user clicks this button, we have to handle add to cart click. Now into that, how we can send current product ID? How we can send the current product related ID? Which product they clicked, that ID should be sent, so that we have to fetch only that product and add into cart items collection. So for this button, actually we can define, for this button, you can define a button can have a name. This button name will use dynamically the value. What is it? Product ID. The button name contains product ID. Now we can use event argument. So here we can use event argument E. In E, what we have to do is, I will just put an alert. E dot, we learned about current target. Am I right? Current target dot what? Name. E dot current target dot name. Current target dot name. Current target dot name. And you can see actually when user selects any category, all, it is displaying all products. I am selecting electronics. It should get electronics. User click add to cart. Its number should come. That is how we are sending that information. That is one technique of transporting that product ID. Now, important is I need to get this particular product and I need to maintain a separate collection. What is the separate collection here? We need to create a collection constant. What is the collection name? Cart items, and set cart items, and use state. Use state, it is an array. Now what we have to do when user clicks, we need to get those cart items. Then I think here already Axios is there. Then what we have to do on this add to cart click, we have to get the ID, right? So we have to write like this. What we have to do, Axios dot get from which location, http:/fake-store-api.com/products/ the ID coming from e dot current target dot what name. That is where that it is coming from. Then we have to use a function. What is the function? Then collects a response. Am I right? It collects a response, and that response contains data. That response data must be added into set cart items. Set cart items into that. So we have to add that. This is an array. Cart items is an array. Into actually, this is an array. How you are storing any data into an array? So you are just sending the response data, set cart items into that. What we will do? Into that we will use this one. What is it? Response dot data. We will push that response dot data. After doing that, we will get the cart items count. We need one more option. Okay, cart item is added. We need to get the cart items count. How to get the cart items count? Here I will use another one. What is it? Constant cart items count. Set cart items count. So this is use state. It is 0. It is a number. Now what should happen when user clicks add to cart? The count should be updated. Count should be updated. How the count is updated? We have to just use set cart items count. It should get that count. Count should be updated with what? We have to access cart items. Cart items dot what? Length. It will get the length and it will update. How many items are there in the cart? That means we are collecting cart items. We are collecting cart items count. Temporarily, we will display console.log. In console log, we will display cart items. Okay. And the console log, we will display another cart items count. We will print those two details and see. That means they are correctly added or not. We will display that. Now you see here, let's open the console. I am inspecting here, and let's go to the console here. In the console, now I selected, in this console, I selected some jewelry, and this product, I click on add to cart. Then you can see an empty array is coming and 0 is coming. But it should contain one item. That means what we have to do here, these two details, that means cart items count is how much? This set cart items count, the length we have to define. All this should happen on this response. Understood? This is not updated. It is not showing those details. How to get those details now? Is it adding that into cart items? I will put this console log inside this. We are printing here. Okay. I am getting the count also here. I am defining the count also here. Cart items count. And the cart items count will come here also. That means set cart items count. Here we will define the length. And you see now, refresh and collect the data here. Suppose I am selecting jewelry and I click on add to cart, and you can see it is still empty. An empty array, and this data is not there. Data is lost. We added item, we pushed the item into the cart, but data is not present. It is empty. Can you tell any solution for this? How to keep that data? On add click, I want to keep this data now. What should we do? Now here the point is, into set cart items, we are sending response.data. Data is coming from this location. Is it correctly coming from that location? Let's check. Is it correctly coming from that location? Check. I will use console.log. I'm using response.data. We will first verify, is it correctly coming or not? Response.data. Let's see. Here I am selecting some jewelry. I selected a product and add to cart. That is coming correctly. Perfect. Data is coming, but it is unable to store in a reference. It is unable to store in a reference. The data is coming now. Data is coming. Now, is it not updated into cart items count? Cart items count, set cart items, is it not updated? We will do one thing here. Where to display your cart items? How many? 0 I given. Here we will put a length. What is that length? So the length is nothing but cart items count. Cart items count we will give here. And initially cart items count is 0. Refresh this. Initially cart items count is 0. And I am adding one item into cart. So add to cart. So you can see the count is not updated here. Refresh. Yeah. I am selecting here jewelry. I added one item here. Add to cart. That means I am clicking add to cart. It's not firing up. And you click on add to cart. You can see that is not there. That means the cart items count is not updated. Can you tell the reason why it is not updated? Why? What is the concept behind this? Cart items count is not updated. Suppose you see here, this is cart items length. Okay. I will add into cart items. I will put here in the expression. I am writing an expression here. This is an expression. What is it? Cart items. Cart items dot length I am displaying here. I am displaying cart items length here. You see now, refresh. Okay, select one category and you click on this item here, add to cart, and you can see the length is not updated. Any reason? So why it is not updated the length? Am I writing the logic correctly? Is it fine? Add to cart click. We have to collect the product ID. You saw that data is correctly coming. There is no problem in API. What is my point? Simple. Bring the data and add into that array. The data into that array. How to add data into any array? Actually, this is an array, na, right? How do we add data into array? We need to add that particular data into array. That means I am using, what is it? Cart items dot push. Into that, what we have to push? Response dot what? Data. I am pushing response dot data. I am adding response dot data. Now I am using, for example, here. So your cart items. Now here I am writing, what is it? Cart items dot what? Length. Cart items length. Initially cart items length is 0, and you are selecting any product here and add to cart. So you can see that's not adding there, because it is unable to set that. It is unable to add that item there. Tell me the solution how I can display that with whatever you learned up to now, whatever techniques you learned. First thing, up to this data is coming. Perfect. How to add this data into an array? Load this data into an array. Into this array. Actually, cart items is an array. Array of any type array they can handle. Now into that we are pushing the data, means we are using set cart items. Into that what? Response dot data, that is going. Now is it correct? Is it storing the data into it? Anyone? Anyone can tell that context? Context is not required. Without context, on add click, the item is added into that particular cart items array. Push or unshift, push or unshift we just tried now. We used push option, right? For example, I will show here then. So what we are doing here, what is that array? Array is what? Cart items. Cart item dot push. What we have to do? Response dot data. We have to use response dot data, and we want here to display that whatever is added we want to display. So suppose I said console.log cart items. Cart items is an array. So you check here, refresh. I'm adding this, add to cart. So it's an empty array. In this array, one ID is added, men's casual. So it is pushing and the length is updating, but it is not coming in the return result. That means I am adding one more. Let's add one more. and you can see now you have two objects, length is 2. We are pushing the data and we are adding, right? We are pushing the data and we are adding. Now we need to update this length. How do we update this length? We are using, what is it? Set cart items count. Into that, what is it? Cart items dot what? Length. That means now what we are doing here, let's print the length also now. That means print both details. Console.log, what to print? Cart items you print, and one more is console.log, you print cart items count. These two we are printing. Let's refresh this now. So you can see when I refresh, it is initially 0. And I click on add to cart, and you can see it is currently 1. So, and it is referring 0 actually. I click on another one, it is adding 2. Now you can see it is 2, but it is referring 1. Actually, it is adding. But what is happening? There are 2 items, but it is returning 1. I am adding one more item. I am adding one more item. There are 3 items added here. 0, 1, 2, 3. But here it is showing 2. It is working fine. Array may start with 0. It doesn't matter. Huh? Array may start with 0, but we need length. Na? Length is 3 only. Na? So why length is 3 and why it is here 2? The array length here we have defined here. So array dot length. Here instead of length, we will use, what is it? Cart items count. Cart items count. But you see here, initially this is 0. I click on add to cart. It is 0. It's not updated. I click on another one, add to cart. Now it is 1. Same concept is there. That means 2 items are there, but it is referring to only 1. I want why? Reason. Any reason you can tell for this? We are adding the items, but it is showing 1 count less in the length. Here we are setting cart items length, na? Right? Okay. Suppose, shall I set this cart items length here itself? Items dot length. How much the items length is. Now you can see here, refresh. And I am adding this add to cart. It is there and 1 is available. And I am adding the second item into cart. Then it is there, 2 items available. Now it is fine. That means it is able to access that and it is going to display here. That means what is the problem when you write outside this in add click? That is the question. My point is, outside that, what is the problem? Outside that, if I write, then what is the problem? Why it is not taking? Simple, you know already. The component reloads, na? Component mounts again. When component mounts again the count will be only 0. That means every time component is mounting. When every time component is mounting, what will happen? It will reset the counts. To overcome these kind of issues, This is problem solved. That means, so you are handling the problem, it is working fine. That means now this is what generally we expect. That means initially it is 0. You select any category, you add any product into that, it should add that product and display. I removed the log to display. And I'm adding one more here. I click on add to cart. That means it should add 2 items into cart. So if you want, you can keep an alert here. That means suppose I am just giving an alert. So I will put an alert. So alert is nothing but, so here response. So here it is response dot data. Data is an object actually. That object have a title. So in the /n added to cart. Like this I am defining. That means when user clicks on this, initially you can see here. When user clicks on this add to cart, then it is added to cart. I said okay, then now you have 1 item in the cart. I selected the second one, so then it says it is added to cart. And okay, now you have 2 items in the cart. But remember, all these are in one component only. If that cart component is a separate component, in one component only you have seen lot of issues. Data is reloading. So how to collect the data, where to collect the data, where to push the data, these all issues are there even when you are dealing with a single component. Now imagine how you can transport data if it is a separate component. Where to keep the details of these 2 products that you added, and where to handle this information. For that we are using what? Redux store. We are using Redux store. Now what we will do is, we will create cart items array in a Redux store. We will create cart items count in a Redux store. It is a number. And what we will do is, when user clicks on add to cart, we will update that information into this location. We are going to update that information into store. What is advantage of keeping in store? You can use from any location. Any component can use it. Any component can use it. Now remember, if it currently it is in same component. It is in the same component, so you don't have a problem. That is all. Whatever we saw, those are all not problems. They are just the issues, where to push, how to push, and where to set the count. They are not issues actually. And one more problem is, if you write outside, then it will reset the count every time. Because use effects will load the component every time, then it will reset the count every time. Then you will get 1 less than, count will be reduced. This all the issues you need to handle when you are specially dealing with the data across components. Now what is the solution? Maintain a Redux store. What is advantage of maintaining Redux store? It will keep this information until application ends. From application start to application end, this data is maintained. So now you can access this from any component and use it. Not only in this component, any component can access the store and you can use it. Now what you have to learn, how to create this store. For this, lot of stages are there. That means to handle this situation. Just for your understanding sake, this entire example I will post here for you. So that entire example I will post here. I will give this example: add items to cart and update count without Redux. Without Redux, we are doing this. Without Redux or without use reducer. Without use reducer, you are doing. That is okay. This is the complete example for without redux and reducer. Now what we have to do is we need to manage the same functionality with redux. We have to manage the same functionality with redux. So for that, what we have to do? There are so many stages now. Actually, now let's understand the task we have to handle. What is that? When user clicks add to cart button, when user clicks add to cart button, that item must be stored in a store. That item must be stored in a store. That means, so what is the action? Tell me. What is the action here? Tell me. What is the action? Action is add to cart. Add to cart is the action. Action defines when the data need to be updated in store. Understood? Action indicates when the data need to be updated in store. So when it should be updated in the store? When add to cart click, when user clicks add to cart click. Generally, we call payload. So here we say store. What should be stored? In the store, what is the data to be updated? Two details to be updated. One is cart items, another one is count. Store should contain two details. When add to cart action fires up, what are the details to be updated in store? Cart items and count. What here we call a concept called payload. Payload indicates what is the data to be stored. Payload indicates on that action what is the data to be sent, delivered. Payload means what is the date, what is the content to be delivered. How much payload, what is the payload? You know, generally payload, that means, for example, we call that like, so suppose transporting means suppose flight. We say that how much payload this flight is taking. What payload this flight is taking. That means payload means what is it transporting? How many people? Who it is transporting? How many people it is transporting? So suppose we use this term. We say that a fighter jet delivers the payload. Delivers the payload means a fighter jet delivered a missile. That is the payload. It takes and delivers there. That means payload indicates what is the content to be delivered. What is the content to be delivered? What is the content to be delivered? Product. Which product to be stored? The product they clicked add to cart. Which product they clicked add to cart? That product. Based on which? Based on ID. Based on product ID, we need to filter the product, get that product and store that product into the store. So that means what are the actions, what is the store, and what is the payload. So now who is going to maintain these actions? Actions are maintained by whom? Reducer. Reducer is going to maintain the actions. Actually, reducer contains two things. One is actions, another one is state. What is present in actions? Add to cart is present in actions. What is present in state? In state, count is present and items are present. Cart items and count is present. In which location? State. Actually, this state is used for storing. That means now what should happen? You need to create a reducer. You need to create a store. You need to define the actions and you need to specify the payload to be delivered. So a lot of work is there. That means we need to create a reducer. We already created, if you remembered, in use reducer. So once go home, check this reducer concept and come back. Then tomorrow you can understand. Why? Because use reducer, how to create a function, use reducer, how to use reducer, how to dispatch this process I explained. Now we are going to implement this in this type of example. Now, what is the point? Whatever add to cart is clicked, we collect the product information, store that in a application data store. From there, we will deliver to any component that it wants. The data can be delivered, its count can be delivered, we can use that information. Across components, the data can be transported. Current example, which one I showed you, in this, data is not transported across components. Data is transported only within the component. You can try one more extra work. When user clicks your cart items, can you display them? When user clicks on that button, can you show what are the items in that cart? Of course, we can do that. That means, for example, what you can do, suppose in the right panel or left panel, where is it in the navigation? Suppose, where is the navigation here? So here in the navigation, I just created a div here and say your cart items. And here I am creating a table. So here I will put a class table and table hover. And here we have T head and TR and TH. We defined some title and we defined some preview. And can you show those cart items here? In the T body, I am just using. So what is that? Cart items. We have cart items dot map. I'm using cart items map. We are reading every item. For every item, we will create a row. In that row, we are creating one cell. In that cell, we will display item.id. In another item.title, right? We will display item.title. That item related title should come. Another one is we need to define an image here. Image. So image will have an src, that is item.image. So yeah, so width is suppose some 50 and the height is also 50. This is one simple interface that we configured. You see, there are two items in the cart. Your cart items are shown here now. Your cart items. Of course, what you can do, you can show and hide on button click. When user clicks the button, you can show, hide. We learned now how to show and hide. You can apply styles. You can even use a pop-up. For example, you see now, I am adding one more item into the cart. Add item. That means it should show that item is added into cart. Let's refresh. Yeah, it is added into cart. That means the 3-4 items are there. It will add them. I'm adding those items in the cart. So refresh this. Initially, you can see this is empty. There is nothing. Right now, I selected electronics or I selected some jewelry here. Yeah, I added one item, add to cart. That item is added. Okay, then it will be displayed here. What is present in our cart items? We can display that. We can pop up or we can display just on button click. We can do that. I hope you can try this, right? Just if you want to display those items. Now, similar concept you must able to implement by using Redux store. That means in one component doing all this is okay, it's very simple. But across the components transporting this information requires a lot of logic. Because in real time, what they do, filter component left side. So cart component right side. That cart component, we need to transport data from another component. This requires a lot of state management, right? That we'll see tomorrow, how to implement that point. I will give you scenario, you have to implement. Understood? So get perfectly with reducer concept. Tomorrow I will show you how to implement this by creating a global store. Then you can try for other kind of concepts. Okay, tomorrow we'll see that. And if you can do that, then tomorrow we can see one more, how we can use React Native for developing application for mobile based environment. Okay, tomorrow we'll continue with that. Right.